What's up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flight of Icarus again with MetalTrenches.com, and with the release of the new album from Blodiga Skalds, the Italian folk metal band, it kind of got me thinking about the folk metal bands and albums that got me into this genre to begin with, because it's become one of my favorites. As far as just having a good time and just listen to music that you can drink to, that you can almost dance to at times, folk metal is definitely where it's at. So I thought it'd be kind of fun for especially those of you who maybe don't listen to a lot of folk metal to get sort of my take on like a folk metal starter pack. So these are 5 of the folk metal albums that really got me into this genre to begin with and started me down a very long road. But before I do that, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel and stick around afterwards, because there's plenty more videos for you to enjoy. I'm going to start with Danish band Svartsot with their 2007 album Ravnenes Saga. Probably going to butcher pronunciations this entire list, so just bear with me on that. This is possibly the most underground and potentially obscure album on this list, but it's no less in quality by any means. This band has actually had a few albums out, but they never quite recaptured the magic and same quality of this debut. That may at least be in part due to some pretty massive lineup changes that happened right after this album, but regardless, I love the simplicity of it. This is probably the most simple and stripped back album on this list. It's basically just sort of like extra bouncy melodic death metal with flute to accompany the already catchy riffs. And you've got like really great just death metal vocals, great guitar hooks. If you want to check it out, I'd particularly encourage you to listen to the tracks Gravelet, Tvende Ravne, and Jotunheim's Farden. Next up is Ukrainian black metal band Nocturnal Mortem and their 2009 album The Voice of Steel. This is a band that has become increasingly more folk-oriented over the years and also kind of doing their best to put their more controversial roots behind them. This album is easily the best thing that they've done. Their new album Verity is also quite impressive, and I say new, but I guess it's been out for a little while now. But in any case, this album is just so incredible, and everyone I talk to who knows about it, I've yet to find somebody who's like, that album sucks. Like, no, everybody is like, oh man, that album's amazing. But the thing is, like, I'd still say not a whole lot of people know about this album. So the title track kicks things off on a serious high note with the clanking of hammers on anvils, like the sounds of a blacksmith's forge, to complement the ominous guitar sounds before executing one of the most infectious gypsy fiddle melodies I've ever heard. Ukraine is another highlight with an almost danceable intro and some pretty powerful clean choruses also. And just to prove that they haven't quite abandoned their black metal roots entirely, Valkyrie is a pure blast beat rager that later broadens into some pretty seriously epic directions. So definitely do not miss out on this incredible album. Alright, in kind of a similar vein, we've got Finnish pagan folk metal band Moonsorrow with their 2001 album Voimasta ja kunniasta. This is a band that's gone through a lot of phases in their sound, becoming much proggier a la Enslaved on their later material. And actually their latest album, which was also good, kind of just reverted and rewound the tape back to sort of just pure black metal with a much darker sound. But this is a band where everyone seems to kind of have their favorite. Personally, I love this sophomore effort. It's much more grandiose than maybe some of the other albums on this list and takes itself a little bit more seriously. I'd argue that they can't rival its massive scope and bombastic symphonic sound. It just sounds absolutely massive. This is folk metal meant to be blasted from an arena. And furthermore, the folk instrumentation brings with it plenty of great little hooks that really stick with you, from the flutes to the accordion. The main highlights here are probably Sankarihanta, Kailan Pasa, and Arinko Yaku. Alright, then we've got German symphonic folk metal band Equillibrium with their 2008 album Sagas. These guys definitely have a pretty strong foundation in melodic death metal, and while for a long time they kind of stuck to the German language and Germanic folklore for their repertoire, they've expanded more recently, especially on their latest album Renegades, to more present-day concepts and more English language vocals. But in general, these guys are known for being very campy, lots of great drinking and partying music. They really kind of jumped the shark and went full Metalocalypse style, like a caricature of themselves and the genre on the album Armageddon, which is also a really good time. Because I was born to be epic. But personally, I'm most partial to their first two albums, and Sagas inches out Tourist Frontier just a tiny bit in terms of being an absolute blast. This was the last album with their previous vocalist Helge, and it was their first on Nuclear Blast Records. Not only are there great guitars, but it also has this incredible soundtrack quality synth, courtesy of Renier Birthhammer. It's a great balance of fun and pure entertainment value with more atmospheric qualities and compositional ambition as well. Definitely recommend that you check out the tracks Wurzelbert, Blut im Auge, and Unbesiegt. And last but most definitely not least, we've got probably the most well-known band on this list. It's Finnish band Ensiferum with their self-titled debut from 2001. I actually had the great pleasure of interviewing bass player Sammy live and face-to-face at one of their concerts, and he's just like a cool guy, and man, was that a fun and entertaining concert to watch. These guys have had many great albums over the years, but their debut is pretty much legendary. You talk about folk metal, you can't skip over talking about this album. And it's one that features the insane neoclassical riffing and mixed death and power metal vocals of madman Jari Mainpaa, who is now probably even more legendary for his work with Wintersun, and probably even more legendary than that for his reportedly massive ego. There were even a bunch of memes and articles floating around a couple years ago about how they had crowdfunded like $1 million studio just to work on their new album, and hey, I can't knock the hustle. Get that money.
It doesn't matter how broke you are. You have $10.
$5 a month!
But going back to this early days, like this is just super fun stuff. You've got Hero in a Dream, Token of Time, Guardians of Fate, Wind Rider, Battle Song, all classics, all mainstays for their touring show. If you're looking for high energy music about chugging mead, clashing swords, and dancing goblins, look no further than this record. And that'll do it. Just 5 albums from a big pantheon of releases that I've got back here and really enjoy listening to. Folk metal is just so much fun, and like if I'm just looking to be put in like a good mood and have a good time, this is the one I'm going to go for. So hopefully these 5 albums will do the same thing for you that it did for me. It'll get you inspired to be like, ooh, what's this? This is new and interesting and not something I really spent a lot of time with. So go check them out. Definitely a lot of them are available on Bandcamp, YouTube, various other platforms. And if you enjoy them, again, most of these bands have many other albums for you to check out and enjoy. And this is also just scratching the surface. There are so many other folk metal bands out there that easily could have wound up on this list. But I just wanted to kind of whittle it down to sort of 5 of the mainstays from way back when I first started getting into this music that kicked off a real passion. And that'll do it for this video. Once more, if you haven't already, please do subscribe, like it, share it if you enjoyed it. Hop down in the description. You can find links to all of our social media, also the email newsletter I send out personally every Friday to keep you up to date with what's going on at metaltrenches.com. And if you're a returning viewer, and again, you feel like you're getting added value out of this every time you keep coming back and it's really worth it, then consider giving just $1 a month at our Patreon or Subscribe Star. It really makes a difference in helping me cover my overhead costs and justify the time that I put into this. But that'll do it for this video. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.